Everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name is Melissa, and today we are going to be making a variegated in color V-neck jumper, and we are going to be using this beautiful yarn here. It is a fluffy yarn and it gives a beautiful variegation in color, and you can get it in many colors. So this one is the blue. It is called Ombré Sunset by Mondo Vera. I get it from Spotlight. It is an acrylic nylon blend, 420 meters. And this one is called Blue Fever. There are about 6 different colors, from orange, purple, sea green, sea mist, green. Yeah, and it works up super quick, super soft, and because we're trying to get the ombre effect, you will need up to, well, about 4 balls so you can get the variation correct on both sides. This jumper is worked in 2 halves and then sewn together, so you want the 2 halves to look identical. So depending on the size you are doing this for, depends on how many balls you will need, because you'll need to get the color variation exactly right on both sides. So it might be using part balls. So the larger it gets, the more balls you'll need to use the different sections of it. All right. So what we need, 4 balls, maybe more depending on your size of this yarn. You will also need your hooks. So we will be working this garment in a 6mm hook. And when I start my garments, I always go up a size for my chain, and I'm using my 7mm chain hook for the chain. Then you will also need your tape measure to do your armholes and where you are going to sew your panels. You will need your stitch markers and a yarn needle, and of course a pair of scissors. All right, let's stop hesitating and let's get this project started. If you enjoy my content and want to support my channel, you can buy me a coffee at the link in the description below. Every coffee helps support patterns, filming and new designs. Thank you so much for your support. Once you have found the end, leave a really long tail, because this is what we're going to be sewing up the fronts and the sides with. Alright, so get your larger hook and start your yarn however you start your yarn. And you will need to chain 140. We are going to be working long ways, so up and down the body rather than going across. So 140 stitches is what we need. We're working out to be around about 65-70 centimeters, but you can make this as long or as short as you like. It's purely up to you, completely adjustable. So for me, I'm doing 140 stitches. So chain 140, and I will meet you back here once you have your chain. Okay, so I have my 140 stitches in my chain. Now I need to change my hook over to the smaller hook, the hook that I'm using for the body of the work, which is my 6mm. And then just chain 1. And then for this row and this row only, row number 1, we are going to be doing a single crochet in each stitch. Now we're working our stitches not on the front in these V's, but we're going on the back into the lumps at the back. Now please do this, please persist with doing this, because when you'll come to the sewing up, you'll find that it will be so much neater and easier with the V's on the front. So we're working on the back in that loop there. So missing that stitch, that chain we just did, we're going to the next one and we're doing single crochets. So we're going to put the hook straight into that loop there in the back of the stitch. We're grabbing the yarn and we're pulling the yarn through that loop, and then we're grabbing the yarn and pulling the yarn through the 2 loops on the hook. So we're going into the next stitch, so into that loop, grabbing the yarn, pulling it through, and then grabbing the yarn and pulling through the 2 loops on the hook. And we're just doing these single crochets all the way along. So when you get to the end of this chain, you should have 140 stitches. Alright, keep going with that, and I will meet you at the end when you have finished this row. It's coming up to my last stitch, and then chain 1 and turn your work. Alright, so now what we're doing is from now onwards half double crochets only. So it's a very simple stitches that we're using. This is going to be a size medium. Now the length and how we start is exactly the same on every size. However, if you do want to make it shorter or longer, then just change the length of your chain. The width is dictated by how many rows that you are going to do. So with a medium, we are going to do 24 rows of half double crochet. And with this single crochet row we've just done, it's 25 rows in total for the body of half of this jumper. So we're making it in 2 halves and then sewing the 2 halves together. So this is half number 1 that you're working on. And then you're going to repeat this whole process for the second half. So for a half double crochet, yarn over and go straight into that first stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, and then grab your yarn and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. So that is yarn over, straight into that stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, and then grab your yarn and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. And again, yarn over, straight into that stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, and then grab your yarn and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. And you're going to be doing this for every stitch for the next 24 rows, making a total of 25 rows, including that single crochet that you started. Now that is for a medium. If you are wanting to do a large, it is 27 rows. If you are wanting to do a small, it is 21 rows. You might notice there's a little bit of a theme there. 3 rows difference per size. So small 21, I'm going to put up here, the measurements. Small 21 rows, medium 24, large 27, extra large, it would be 30, extra large 33. So you see the pattern there. However, fully adjustable for you, so change it for the width that works for you. So if you're not sure of the sizes that I've given you, then do your 24 rows of your half double crochet, put it over your shoulder. If you find that it's not wide enough, do more rows. If you find it is too wide, undo some rows. Okay, that's how easily adjustable this is. Alrighty, so I'm going to leave you to finish your half double crochet rows, the 24 rows if you are doing a medium the same as me, or do as many rows as you need to. Whatever amount of rows that you did, write that down somewhere so you can repeat it for the second half of this jumper. Alrighty, I will meet you back here after I have finished my 24 rows of half double crochet. Okay, I'm coming to the end of my 24th row, and that is that half of the body done. So now what we're going to do is to do the arm. Now you can do up the side of the arm two ways. You can crochet the two sides together all the way up, but I find that uses a lot of yarn. So even though I don't like sewing, I want to save as much yarn as I can because I want the colour to blend more evenly. So I'm not going to crochet up the side, I'm going to sew up the side. So this means I need to leave a very long tail to sew up the side. So create a long tail and then just snip it off and pull that through. And then I'm going to use this, fold that panel in half, and then get your yarn needle and start sewing up the side. Now, how you want to do this, you can do it any way you like. I am not the world's best sewer, but I do like working long ways because I find that this is a lot easier to sew up because you can see the stitches really easily and you can sew that up really easily and have it looking nice and even. So the first one, because we're not doing anything decorative along the edge, this was just so I could, the stitch markers are just so I could count. I like going 10, 20. Makes it a lot easier than having to count it all the time. So we're not doing anything decorative along the bottom. That is the raw edge of the bottom. And we are going to put the needle in right at the bottom. And then I just bring that through again and just check that that is all even and nice. And that will be the finished product. And then I start sewing by bringing the two edges together, and I want to go inside of that stitch and inside of the other side, like so, and bring the yarn through inside of that side, inside of the other side, and so on and so forth. And I do that all the way along until I get to about, I want 40 stitches left. Now I like how 40 stitches with this yarn leaves me a nice opening for the arm. That is around about 22 centimeter opening. Now it's purely up to you how big you want the opening to be for your arm. If you want it bigger, leave more stitches. If you want it smaller, sew more up. But I'm going to leave 40 stitches. Whatever stitches you leave, make sure you write that down somewhere so you do exactly the same for the other half of this jumper. Alright, I'm going to continue sewing this up and I'll meet you at the arm opening and show you what that will look like when I've got 40 stitches left. Okay, so there we go. I've sewn up the edge there, as you can see, and I like how it's nice and neat. That's on the inside. And you can see the arm opening here, and that is 40 stitches around, including the last two that I sewed in because I'm going to start my sleeve in there. So what you need to do now is turn this inside out so it is the right way around now. So you can see the nice seam here, and that blends in really, really well. And now we are going to start on the arm. So get your end of your yarn where you finished off, and going into that very first stitch here, you can see there's the tail of where I finished off my sewing up. Start your yarn however you start your yarn. And then simply do a half double crochet in every stitch as you go around your armhole opening. When I'm a few stitches in, I grab a stitch marker and I place that just on the first row, because it's pretty hard to tell the difference between the two rows. So that's my row number 1. And work your way around until you get back to the beginning of this row where you started, and I'll meet you there when you've done that. I've made my way around the yarn. I'm back to the beginning, and I want my last stitch of the row, so this will be stitch 40, to go into the first stitch of the round. So doing my half double crochet there. And don't worry about if it's gappy, we're going to sew that up later because we've got all those tails in there. So, and then once you've done that and you've checked you've got your 40, you're going to join your row together with a slip stitch. So putting your hook in the top of your first stitch, and then grab your yarn and pull it through that and the stitch on your hook, the loop on your hook. Then you chain 1, you turn your work, and then we start again. Now this is now row 2, and you miss that first stitch, go into the second stitch and do your half double crochets and keep working around, and double check on every row that you got the right amount of stitches. It's so easy to lose one and get yourself all lost. So this is number 2. Now you're going backwards and forwards in the round. You're not doing continuous around because it will change the pattern of your work. You want it to have this rigid textured pattern rather than all one way. So this is why we're going backwards and forwards. So finish round number 2, which if you got the same amount of stitches as me will be 40. And I will meet you back here when you have finished, come to the end of this round. Okay, I'm on my 39th stitch, and our 40th goes into the same stitch that we started the row in. And then slip stitch together. So there's the top of that first stitch. Going to go straight in there, grab my yarn, pull it through, and pull through the loop on the hook. Okay, chain 1, turn your work, and then missing that first stitch, going into the second stitch and doing my third round exactly the same. So do your third and your fourth round of this sleeve exactly the same, and I'm going to meet you back here when you have finished your 4th round on the sleeve. This is the last stitch of row number 4, so I'm going to slip stitch together like we've been doing, chain 1. Now this is the 5th round, and every 5th round you'll be doing a decrease. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're doing a 5th round, and every 5th round is going to be a decrease. So to decrease, miss that first stitch like we have been, and then yarn over, go into the next stitch, grab a yarn, pull it through, go into the 3rd stitch, grab a yarn, pull it through, and then grab a yarn and pull through all the loops on the hook, and that is your decrease. So to show you that again, so I'm missing that first stitch there, going into the 2nd stitch, so yarn over, going into the 2nd stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, and then going into the 3rd stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, and grab your yarn and pull through all the loops on the hook, and then continue your half double crochets as normal. Now like I did before, I'm going to do a few stitches, then I'm going to grab a stitch marker, put it in, and that tells me that this is round number 5. So this is where I started, number 1 round, 2, 3, 4, and this is the 5th. So after I finish this round, I should have 39 stitches left. So I'm going to finish this round, and I'll meet you back here when you've done that. We're on the last stitch of this decrease round, the 5th round. So I'm going to join them together. Chain 1, turn my work. So the sleeve is done in sections of 5 rounds, and we're going to do 8 lots of those. So this is section number 1, and every 5th row of that round of this group, you will be doing a decrease. So we're starting the next section of 5. So the next 4 rounds are going to be no decrease. Then the 5th one will be a decrease. So I'm going to leave you to do the next 4 rounds, no decrease at all. And I'm going to meet you back here for the 5th round of this next section to just run through that decrease one more time. Okay, so as you've always done, miss that first stitch, go into the next stitch and keep working. Go backwards and forwards for another 4 rows, and I will meet you back here when you are at the end of your 4th row of this little section. Coming to the end of my 4th round, so just slip stitching them together, and then you can see there's my first section, there's my second section, and I've done 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm on my decrease round. So chain 1, turn your work, and as we did before, and always missing that first stitch, and to decrease, yarn over, go straight into the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, then straight into the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, then grab your yarn and pull through all the loops on the hook, and you can see that they're joined together now. And then continue as normal. So doing this row, I should have 38 stitches left, and when I have finished this round, I will meet you back here and go through what to do next. Okay, I'm at the end of this 5th round, the decrease round. Might help if I do a half double crochet. There we go. Join the row together, chain 1 and turn your work. Okay, don't forget to put the stitch marker in, so I know that that is my 5th row of that section. Okay, so we've done 2 of our 6 sections, so we're going to do 1, 2, and then another 6. So you can see that it is 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the 5th round is a decrease. So you need to repeat that 6 more times, and the total of 8, which should leave me with 32 stitches by the time I finish this sleeve. Now, I am coming to the end of my ball, as you can see. So for majority of you, you'll probably know what you need to do when you come to the end of your ball, but I'm going to meet you back here and show you what I do when I come to the end of this ball, because it's not going to finish off this sleeve. Alrighty, so continue working your sections. So you're doing 8 of these decrease sections. So 4 no decrease, 1 with a decrease, 4 no decrease, 1 with a decrease, and so on and so forth until you've done 8 of those. You should be left with about 32 stitches, or 8 stitches less than what you started with if you're doing a different count than me. Alright, I'm going to meet you back here when I've run out of yarn and just run through what to do next for your next ball to keep the pattern and the colour going. I've come to the end of my ball, and I've still got 5, 6 more rows to do. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, I've got about 11 more rows to do. So therefore I'm going to have to go on to the next ball, but I need to have it marry up with this colour. So what I need to do, here's my second ball, and I'm going to start from the outside and work in. So if you do need to go to the next ball, that's what you need to do. Now it all depends on what size your garment is going to be. If it is a small, you might not need to do that, but obviously if it is, this is a medium, if it is a large, extra large, you're definitely going to go on to the next ball. So literally join your yarn together, your new ball on, and then just keep going. You just have to remember to make sure that you match this with your other half of your jumper. So whatever you end up doing as your colorway on your sleeve, you will need to make sure that this matches your other half of your jumper. And then just keep working as normal until you have finished your 8 sections. So I have done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I've just got 2 more to do. And then I have finished this arm, and I will meet you back here when I have finished that. I'm on the last stitch of my sleeve, and then join the row together. That is it. We are finished with that. So snip off the end and just pull it through and sew in all your ends. So there is my sleeve done. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sections of 5. We have done that. Now we just have to repeat this whole process for the second side. And what I do is also marry up the two to make sure I've done them spot on. And then it's now time to sew. Now it is time to sew up your 2 sides. So lay them out and make sure they are the wrong way around, as in they're inside out. So you can see my seam is there. So I've got that inside out. That one is inside out. Now it's going to be a little bit hard to show you in the camera, but you can see this is the bottom here, and there's the bottom there. And what we want to do is sew up the front and the back. Now you can do this for 2 ways. You can have the back sewn up all the way to the very, very top. So it's right up to the edge of the neck and shoulders, and then the front stays as a V. Or you can make the V be on both the back and the front, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to do a V back and a V neck front. So I'm going to do this, so it's about 18 centimeters on the front and 18 centimeters on the back. Then I'm going to try it on and just play around and see if I like that neck shape for me. So if you want to do for the back only, so just sew up to the very, very top on the back, and then at the front, it's around about 20 centimeters, but sew up the front to where you think it looks good, and then throw it over your head and see how that looks. Now, which one's the front and which one's the back is purely up to you, how you want to do it, because both sides are identical. Okay, so what I do, there's a variety of different ways, but if you lie it down so you think you've got it even, and then keeps falling off the table. This was a little difficult to show you in the camera. It just keeps falling off the table. So what I did is I laid the 2 panels next to each other. I measured 18 centimeters from the shoulders, the neck, top of the neck, down to 18 centimeters, put a stitch marker, flipped it over, did exactly the same thing, and put a stitch marker on the other side. So I have my 2 V's marked out there. As I said before, you do not need to do a V on the back. You can sew it all the way up to the neck if you so wish. Then I grab one of my tails. So the tail should be on the opposite sides. And get your yarn needle and then marry the 2 panels at the front up and sew up the sides. Now this is your edge. You're not doing anything else to the edge. That is it. So you want to make sure that your bottom of your jumper is nicely lined up. So I just go over that bottom bit twice. Just check that it is nicely lined up. And then what I do is I fold in half, I fold it like so. So you got your 2 edges there. And then you'll see your V's. I go the inside of the V on this side and then take the inside of the V on the other side. And just sew, doing that all the way along until I get to my stitch marker. And then do exactly the same on the other side. When you have done those 2, I'll meet you back here and just show you a little tip that I do. Okay, I've sewn up the back and the front, and before I'm going to sew in my ends, I just need to try it on and make sure the V's are low enough or high enough, and then I make sure they're also level, so they're exactly the same on either side, which is easy. You just hold it up and then make sure all the ends are sewn in and you are finished. And there we are. We have a finished jumper. And I love the variegation and how that is so subtle but looks so beautiful. And the softness and the drape, it is really pretty. But you can do this with any yarn. It's super simple. Change your hook to any size, change this to any size. It is fully adjustable. Same with the arms, all of it. So I hope you have enjoyed making this jumper with me. Check out all my other tutorials. I've got so many on there. Like, subscribe, share, hype, do all that good stuff. Buy me a coffee if you so wish. It's not going to go on coffee, it's going to go on yarn. And help support this channel. And thank you so much for joining me in this tutorial. And I hope to see you on another one very, very soon. Thanks, everyone. Bye, everybody.